Good morning. Confess with your mouth. And yes, good morning. I am I am Brittany Simone, and yes, the topic of this video is confess with your mouth and how powerful confessions are. They are very, very powerful because once you put it in language, it begins to exist. That's how you get the ball rolling. And if you're looking in the Bible, what did Moses have to do when Pharaoh said, "Who are you?" He said, "I am that I am." What do you have to do when you're saved? Yes, believe in your heart, but confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord. What do you have to do? You have to put it in language. You have to confess. What did the Father say in the beginning? Let there be. You have to confess. You have to have that language. Now, confessions does get a bad rep because most of the time you hear confess, it's something that has a negative connotation behind it, of course. It has a negative connotation behind it, of course. That's because it's in the legal system. Confess. What do they want most of all before they go to trial? A confession. Because once you said, "I did it, I'm guilty," or "not guilty," you are confessing. Even if you don't say nothing. Some people can consider it to be a confession, but you must put it in language. It doesn't exist until you put it in language. Hell, Usher made a whole album, and being a kid that grew up in that time, these are my confessions. Just when I thought I said all I can say, my chick on it. Right? Confess. When you confess with your mouth, you are creating a speech act. When you get married, what do? You tell everyone you're married. Sometimes, when women are pregnant, they tell everyone, "I'm pregnant." And it's a speech act. When you get married, you have to agree and confess with your mouth. Even as you believe in your heart, you say, "I do." So what are you putting in language? And what have you neglected to put in language so that it will exist? Yes, of course, you will have to be mindful of the circle of people you put it in language with sometimes. But that's only in the beginning stages. That's in the infancy of things. Because you don't want someone to try to abort your dreams, abort what it is you desire to do, your vision. Because that conversation, that language, what you just spoken into existence is beginning to start. It's getting the ball rolling. But you don't want someone to come and put a tree right in front of you, which is their problem, or a situation that you feel like you have to handle. So yes, of course, be mindful of the people you are confessing to. That's why you seek wise counsel. In Catholicism, in the Catholic religion, they have confessionables. That's because you find someone who you can trust to confess your sins to. But it's not always your sins that you need to confess. It's the things that you really want to do. Because once you start putting it into language, it becomes real. Now your actions must follow. Now everything you do must follow. Because now you are putting that in action. You are conversing in action. You're starting a conversation. Just like when you start a business. What's your confession? We're open. When you get ready to start your business, what's your confession? Coming soon. You get a new place. What's your confession? I have a new place. Let's have a housewarming. Once you put it into language, you are now bringing it to a space of reality, existence. And a lot of people avoid it because they don't believe they have what it takes to make it happen. But that's because it's not really up to you. All you are to do is to follow the steps, follow the course. I know for me, with some of the things that I have confessed, and I am very, very mindful of who I confess or say these things to, because I understand that this is a big deal to me. So I'm being mindful of who I'm confessing to or who I'm giving a language to. And then it requires action. It requires you to trust the process. You must start creating the habits so that you can really begin to walk into the existence and the reality of what it is. Because faith without works is dead. But how does faith come? By the word, which must be heard, but it must be first confessed. So confessions, confessions, confessions. We hear the bad part about it. Confess your sins. But what are the truthful things that you are confessing? I am rich. I am strong. I am healed. I am bold. I am confident. I am restored. I am whole. These are the things that you confess. You confess with your mouth. And you believe in your heart that I am that. Because those 3 letters can help really solidify that consciousness and that confession of I am. When you say I am that I am, and you confess what you are by removing that and replacing it with that desire, you begin to see so many things begin to line up to where it is bringing you so much clarity around what it is that you are confessing. So confess with your mouth. I don't mean say it to everyone all the time, because sometimes we can get so excited that we just blurt it out. You don't want to always do that, because there are things that you must seek wise counsel for. There are things that you must have the people around you that agree. Meaning, if you're saying you're going to do this and 9 out of the 10 people are saying you can't, it's not going to work. But if you are confessing in front of the 12 and only 2 say I believe you, then you rock with those 2. Because when 2 or 3 are gathered, and I'm in the midst, right? So confess, but just use your wisdom. Be wise and discerning about your confessions. You are conversing in action. You don't want that person who hears you making the speech act do everything they can to stop you. They're throwing everything at you to either stop you because they don't want you to, they're afraid, or they want to stop you because they are jealous. They may need you more than they want to admit, but they're going to do any and everything they can subtly to try to show you, I really do need you, instead of putting it into, you get the gist. Confess. Confess with your mouth and believe in your heart, yes, that Jesus is Lord and you may be saved. But even then, it requires you to start practicing putting these things in habit. I know when I got saved, I started putting things into a habit. Reading my Bible, praying, studying the Word. Now I'm sitting here in front of you because I didn't just hear it, and yes, I confessed it, but then I started to practice it. It is a habit because I seek His face and His righteousness. I seek His kingdom, and every day I die daily, which is a confession, because every day some of the old Brittany is passing away, and I'm confessing that I'm the new Brittany, right? I'm using my first name. For a long time, I was going by nicknames, and yes, people still know me by them. But when you say, oh, that's Brittany Simone, some people who know me for years is like, who is that? Because I had to start confessing my true identity and stop putting so many different things in space. But that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day. That's just a personal example because I can only really tell you about me. Some of the things I may have seen and experienced, but in my life, I keep a lot of things to myself. I hold a lot of things close to my chest, which you are supposed to do, until you find those people you can walk in agreement with, who can attach themselves with your dream and your vision. And then they begin to either help you or they find someone who can help you. So there are times when you can confess to the masses, and then you can confess to the disciples. And then you confess to your small, limited circle. If you look in the Bible, yes, Jesus talked to the masses. He had his disciples. But there were times where there were just a handful of them around him. Mount of Transfiguration. How many people saw that? But that's because only a few people could be trusted with that vision. Think about it. So confess, confess, confess. I'm not saying go and tell all your secrets, because that'd be wrong, because I'm not going to tell you all my secrets. It's a lot that I hold close to my chest because I want to make sure the person who I tell it to, I can trust. Real talk, and it's not everybody. But when you confess with your mouth, you are putting it into language. And when it comes into language, it exists. 32 years ago, my mother confessed, "This is my daughter." And she put it into language, "This is my baby." So what happened after that? Her name is on my birth certificate. What was the language she gave her daughter? Her name is Brittany Simone Jefferson. And now that is a conversation in action. Brittany Simone Jefferson. Because I have a purpose that I must fulfill. There are some things that my soul must have. That conversation started when my mother said, "I'm going to push out this baby," right? She confessed that she had a child. The community came and rejoiced over the child. And then she gave that child language by saying her name is Brittany. And now I'm here in front of you. So confess with your mouth. Because yes, there are ears that need to hear that confession and that language. It reminds me of the old philosophy question. If a tree falls in the forest, does it make a sound? That sound is a confession, but even with that confession, there must be ears to register the sound. If not, it doesn't. So what are you bringing into reality by putting it in language? But it first starts with a confession. So good morning. This video may have been a little long. It's because my mind is just going with things that I've meditated on this morning. But just ask yourself, what are you confessing? And what are you putting into language that's going to become reality and manifest? And are you following the steps that are coming to you? Those things that you're just saying, something told me. Yeah, something did tell you. Or it's a coincidence. Yeah, you could say that. That's just life saying, I hear what you have confessed. Let us help make this into reality. We call those things that be not as though they were. So enjoy the rest of your morning. Enjoy the rest of your day. Be safe as always. And yes, my name is Brittany Simone. Hasta luego.